In the peaceful quiet of the Netherlands, in a modest city, there is a tranquil street named after a Canadian man who spent 50 years living a simple life. Because on this half-blind Canuck's chest is a medal he earned for being a one-eyed, rampaging war machine that single-handedly defeated over 100 enemy soldiers at once. Leo Major joined the army in 1940 and became a scout/sniper, but I'm not really sure what he was doing for his first 4 years, so we'll just jump in where the story gets interesting. D-Day. Leo lands on the beaches with his regiment and he hits the ground running because by the end of the day, he single-handedly captured an armored truck and got his hands on a whole bunch of secret codes. A few days later, he ran across an SS unit and took out 4 men, but another man had just enough time to chuck a phosphorus grenade, which blew up in Major's face and tore up his left eye. But he's a sniper, he only needs one to look down a scope anyway. Now he just looks more awesome while doing it. When we next join our plucky young hero, he's on a scouting mission. Alone, because his best friend Willie is in the hospital. He's looking for some missing recruits when he spots about 100 German soldiers catching a few winks. If it were me out there, this is where I would say, okay, mission over, time to go home. But a real soldier would keep going, sneaking past his sleeping foes with cat-like tread. That's not what Leo does, though. No, Leo slinks into the nearby canal, passes by the entire company, and grabs the commanding officer.
Bonsoir, monsieur. Let's not do anything hasty.
He tells the officer to wake up the sleeping men and order them to surrender. If you've ever tried to coordinate people before, maybe you had a group project in high school, it's a mess. Trying to command 100 enemy soldiers? Way harder. That's why, while Leo wasn't looking, one of the men in the back reached for his rifle.
Anyone else want to be a hero? Okay, good. Glad we got that out of our systems.
A nearby German artillery unit hears those gunshots and looks over to see a single Canadian guy with 90-some prisoners and opens fire. Leo just keeps on trucking until eventually an Allied tank shows up and lends a hand. Anyway, he trots back to camp with 93 POWs still alive and is given a Distinguished Conduct Medal, which in terms of things to have on your resume is right up there with being an Olympian. And he turns it down because he thought the general handing it out was a hack. Oh, you thought single-handedly capturing 93 enemy soldiers was where he got that big award from? This was just the practice round. February 1945. Leo recently had a bit of, car trouble. Managed to break his spine, both ankles, and a few ribs, but he's the one who survived. Having served Queen and country more than enough, he rested up and returned home. And by rest up, I mean break out of the hospital and make a quick stop to visit his girlfriend in Belgium. And by return home, I mean show up at his old army unit a month later.
You do know the war is about over, right? La, why do you think I'm in such a hurry?
Typically, the army isn't so fond of their soldiers going AWOL, but you gotta respect that chutzpah. They send him out on a mission with his best friend Willie to do some recon on Zwolle, a Dutch city of about 50,000 people. Figure out how many Germans are in there, get in touch with the Dutch resistance, get everything ready for the army to come in and wreck shop. But as Willie and Leo are sneaking around, they think to themselves the town is just so charming it'd be a shame to see it bombarded, so they hatch a plan.
Alright, I'll take the north side, I need you in the west to make us— you don't!
Yeah, Willie dies, but Leo gets his revenge on the shooter. He then decides that the mission that just got his best friend killed is perfectly fine to carry out solo because now it's personal. He casually captures another German, gets a lift to his leader, captures him, and tells him the Canadian artillery will be wreaking havoc at dawn. Then he gives him his gun back and releases him to inform the rest of the German army. Of course, the Canadian artillery wasn't coming because they were waiting for Leo to come back. Not a problem, because all that built-up rage has turned Leo into a one-man army. He starts running around the city, firing machine guns and hurling grenades willy-nilly until— Gott mit uns, they're attacking early! And in the middle of it all, Leo makes sure to take frequent breaks to capture even more soldiers. After 4 hours, the Germans had all evacuated the city, at which point Leo finally made contact with the Dutch resistance army.
Germans are gone.
And that's the story of how he got his medal. The first one, that is. 1951, there's war in Korea. Long story short, commies had their fingers in North Korea. That was a no-no for the West. So Canada helped the UN. The UN declared war? Since when was that a thing? They helped the UN push back, but our old pal Mao thought they were getting a bit too close to the Chinese border and intervened. Zooming in, China's got control of a hill that would be really nice for the Canadian army to have, but they won't give it to them. What to do? Cue Leo and his team of scouts and snipers doing the most unsnipery thing possible by sneaking onto the hill and opening fire in the middle of the Chinese army. But hey, it worked. Until the Chinese launched a counterattack and Leo has no way to retreat, so they call in an artillery strike basically onto their own position. And yeah, they get the hill. Maybe it's no capturing a city by yourself, but what is? He went home for real this time, settled into civilian life, and presumably told his kids some pretty awesome stories. He became an honorary citizen of Zwolle, visited a few times, they named a street after him, and then he died in 2008. Now, believe it or not, with over 100 million soldiers fighting in World War II, Leo's not the only one who walked away with a hell of a story, as I'm sure the comments will point out. I'm pleased to say I did not forget about them, and in fact, you can learn all about them with today's sponsor, Audible. They're the website with the countless audiobooks, including some about people like Simo Hehe, 500 confirmed sniper kills, Audie Murphy, America's most decorated soldier, and Dennis Avey, who willingly broke into Auschwitz. But they've also got podcasts, theatrical performances, the whole shebang. And you can get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals at audible.com/Jack Rackam or texting Jack Rackam to 500 500. Cheers!